Hello. I just want to start by saying how deeply honoured I am to be taking this role on. I formally started in November last year, and whilst it's only been a few months of activity, it certainly seems like a very busy and very productive few months. But it's a great honour to be in the role, and I'm very privileged to be taking it on. And I'd have to start by passing my thanks and recognition to my predecessor, Major General Andrew Sharp, who has made the transition very easy by leaving things in great shape and also being a really fantastic supporter and mentor throughout the process as well. So huge thanks to him. I think it's really important to not labour too much on the fact that it has been a difficult year since we all got together at the AGM, as it was last year, but also just to recognise that the messaging that I was given as a young man around expecting the unexpected only goes so far, and the circumstances that we've all been facing really makes it difficult to really predict what could happen, and therefore you tend to get judged on the way that you respond to the unexpected. And I've been humbled, frankly, by the way that the exec team and broader community of the Poppy Factory have come together through these difficult times. It would have been very easy to get swept up and focused internally on, all the challenges that we've been facing. But actually, when you take a step back and look at the great leadership that Deirdre has shown, supported by a great exec, and like I said, all the wider community, we find ourselves in what I think is a great position of strength. And actually, looking back over the past year, and you'll hear a bit more about this as we go through today's meeting, the outcomes that we've achieved and the accomplishments that delivered by us all really are worthy of some reflection, and I think it's something we should all be very proud of. When we actually take stock of what's been achieved, clearly the work on the factory and the premises is phenomenal. It's a shame we can't all be there today, but I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to getting everybody together, and you'll see some snippets later today, but actually it's really impressive and almost unrecognizable from where we were. So that I think is a huge accomplishment. But also, we've got interesting new partnerships underway that I think are going to really help shift the dynamic in the market, if you like, that we work in. We laid on a field of remembrance, which could easily have gone in a different direction. It was hugely challenging, and again, huge thanks to the team, Jeff in particular, but also our president, Lionel, who played a huge role in making this work in the way that was absolutely right. And I was again really pleased to see how it was executed. But I think fundamentally the biggest accomplishment, and the thing that I find really makes us all tremendously proud, is the fact that despite all this headwind of challenge and difficulty and all the personal challenges that I'm sure we've all had to face, we still managed to find employment for 240 veterans over the duration of the pandemic. And that is something which has meant that 240 people are in work, 240 people have got a different set of life dynamics around them that in this year could have had a real multiplier effect in their welfare had that not happened. So we should feel really good about that. And I know that that's just one important component of what we've achieved. It is stand out, and it is a direct reflection of the hard work everybody in the team is doing. And I think we're positioned in really solid foundations for the future. Who knows what it will lay out, but there's plenty to look forward to, not least the expansion of the alliances and the partnerships that we've talked to. I think we have a new restructured organisation that's going to be streamlined, and I think the work that we need to do will benefit from that new structure. The premises, when they eventually can open and get back into full swing, will generate, I think, income and fundraising opportunities as yet undetermined. And all of that, I think, provides a very exciting pathway ahead of us, albeit opaque in some areas. I think what the team has demonstrated, that if we can lead and manage and be as productive as we have during what has been, no doubt, an incredibly difficult year for many, then surely we should be facing a very optimistic future, because things can only really build on what we've achieved so far. So really, thank you to everybody involved. As I said, I'm really humbled to be in this role. I'm really proud of everything that's been achieved, and I am quietly and in many ways very pleasurably excited about the future that we face.
Hello, welcome to the AGM for 2021. My name is Mark Louw, I'm the Finance Director. You would have been sent a copy of the annual report and accounts to 30th of September 2020. The financial statements have been audited by Hayes McIntyre, who have given us a clean audit opinion. I'd just like to highlight some of the numbers and aspects from the annual report. Firstly, voluntary income for the year, £1.2 million, and total income from the estates was £1.4 million. Used towards our charitable work, particularly the Get You Back to Work programme, providing employability services to veterans with health barriers. 270 job starts achieved during the year, and 450 clients on average receiving in-work support. 1.6 million was spent on the programme. Factory production. Over the year, we produced 113,000 wreaths and sprays, 4 million poppies, and 560,000 crosses and symbols, all made for the RBL's Poppy Appeal. The cost of production is £1.7 million, and this was paid for by a grant from the Royal British Legion. 26 staff employed in the factory over the year, and 63 staff on average were employed overall over the year. Our net income for the year, £300,000, and the general reserve at year end was £2.6 million, and this satisfies the reserves policy that was set out by the trustees. Cash and cash equivalents at year end, £2.4 million. And the principal risks listed in the annual report include COVID-related risks, COVID-related impacts on fundraising, and COVID-related impacts on factory staff and factory production. Safeguarding for both our clients and our staff, data and cyber security, the inability to raise voluntary income, and any failure to deliver value for money for our beneficiaries. Our strategic objectives for the Poppy Factory are to help more veterans with health challenges into work and for them to stay in work, to deliver a measurably improving and resilient evidence-based service, to deliver sustainable income to support our services and to deliver our objectives, and to share our knowledge and insights, to continue to employ veterans with health challenges and dependents here at our Richmond factory. The other thing I'd like to mention is the building project. The building refurbishment was completed on time and within budget. The total investment is £5.45 million. The capital value will be depreciated at appropriate rates from when the asset became available for use, which was in November 2020. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, what a year we have had, and certainly not one that any of us expected. It has been quite the roller coaster, full of skyscraper highs and then core of the earth lows. And I'm going to start off with a real low, and that is to formally remember two of our production staff who died in the last year. The first was Julie Pelham, who died of coronavirus in the first pandemic wave. The second was Gordon Dimmock, who died in the latter part of the year, not of the virus, but after a long period of ill health and a sudden hospital admission. Both were real Poppy Factory characters and much loved as a result. And their deaths hit us very hard, and it felt very personal. But I think it is also a timely reminder of just how truly vulnerable some of our team can be, and why it is that we have such intensive care and management programmes in our factory. In normal times, of course, we would all be there to support each other, but the pandemic has meant keeping our distance, and we have had to close the factory no less than 3 times this last year. This has been so hard for our production staff, who truly value and sometimes rely upon our workspace and the camaraderie that results. Happily, we are now open again with over 80% of our production staff vaccinated and a raft of safety and protection measures in place to ride out the last of the pandemic. The other big piece of Richmond news is that our staff have been able to move back into a wholly renovated factory building. Amazingly, our building project completed on time and under budget, and all during the pandemic. The workspace has been completely transformed. Now, I know that our previous director of the estate, Bill Kay, is in the audience. Bill, I can only offer my profuse apologies because your much loved mezzanine floor and large warehouse did not survive. But in its place is now an extraordinary new space for open plan working with high ceilings and natural airflow, creating a modern and inclusive area where we can all enjoy our work. We have halved our warehouse space thanks to racking from Tesco and of course our front building, which was established in the 1970s and looked like it too. And it has been completely repurposed to create a visitor experience fit for all. I am so excited to welcome you all back to the Poppy Factory, because not only will we be showcasing the remembrance products that we make, but we will be able to showcase our history, including the medals of our founder, Major George Howson MC. And we can also talk about the wider employment support work that our charity does today. But Dan, our senior communications specialist, has taken a video which I think will paint you a picture better than any of my 1,000 words. Dan, please hit the video button.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jeff Short. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the new Director of Production and Estate. We're standing outside the Poppy Factory, which has recently been refurbished. The project started in January of last year and finished. The project completion date was the 26th of October. It was done pretty much to time and to cost, a couple of blips due to COVID, but apart from that, we've finished on good time and well within budget. Welcome to the new welcome area in the Poppy Factory. This is the old front building, the admin centre, which, as you remember, was just a mix of small office spaces, very cramped conditions. It's now been opened up. We have a wonderful new presentation area which will have an acoustic curtain which will protect the sound from the presentations going on, reception area, and behind me is the new cafe area which leads into the visitor experience. It will be state-of-the-art. We've got fantastic IT down the end. We have tablets for the interactive and the learning experience of the Poppy Factory and the history behind where we are. So we're standing in the area that used to be the underpass. I'm sure many of you will remember that. That's now been fully encompassed. So the front building will now link in formally and easily with the production area. You can see the ramp behind me that leads down into the production area. Over here is an area we're calling the Poppy making area, which will be used for all of our visitors, both corporate and paying visitors, the WI, school groups, scout groups, all that. The lovely people used to get in the past, they'll be coming back. So we're in the production area, much the same as normal. You'll see some of the old faces that you're very familiar with. We've had this place painted out. We're fully COVID compliant. We've got polycarbonate sheeting. Couldn't afford Perspex, so polycarbonate was the next best thing. And we've got a one-way system around. And the guys and girls are using the raw materials in much the same way as ever. We've got a new machine room at the far end, so all the cutting machines that were underneath the mezzanine are now in their own space. It's been purpose-built, it's on a suspended floor, and it's very good to get everything back to normal and back in one place. In the warehouse now, which has changed quite a lot since any of you may have seen it last. John Newbury still here, about to be relieved as the production manager by a fellow called Mark Louw, and John will move on to the estate as a part-time estate manager, so we're not losing his corporate knowledge. The racking behind me was donated via our link with Tesco, a bunch called PD Industrial, and they did this in 2 days, and it's transformed the way we do our business in the warehouse. This is the old Royal Corridor space, as many of you remember. We've had our toilet block refurbished, both the gents and the ladies on the far side have been refurbished. I'm now standing in the sort of escape corridor area. So in the event of a fire, the doors will slam shut, the fire curtains will drop, and all the people from the first and second floor will come racing down here through the escape corridor and out through to the outside of the factory overlooking the estate car park. This is now our transition from the production area into the new office space, and you'll see that everything has got a real flow to it. We have a platform lift for disabled people, but everything else has got the right gradients. We're fully DDA compliant, and it's a massive improvement. We decided on a good place to put the spare surround for the Tomb of the Unknown Warrior, and our friends down at RBLI did the inscription for us as well. So it's quite a nice reminder of what we're all about and why we're here. We're using the old printing press as a bit of a display as well. So this is now the entrance to the new office space, and as you can see, it is bright, airy. We have opened up the estate by the glazing on the far side, and then in between we have a planter, which is our transition piece between the two levels of the office space. Fortuitously, it is COVID compliant. People, when they do return to work, hopefully in this late spring, early summer, they'll have a very good working environment. A 20-person boardroom. We'll use it for all sorts of meetings, and hopefully AGMs and trustees meetings in the future will be held in and around this space. That completes our very short tour of the new refurbished Poppy Factory. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we really do welcome you. We hope to welcome you all into the factory when restrictions are lifted and we can show it off to its full extent. So this is 20 Petersham Road, the new Poppy Factory.
Isn't it tremendous? And I do hope we will therefore see you in Richmond soon. But it is perhaps worth noting that today the majority of the veterans that the Poppy Factory supports are not Richmond based, but are those who use our nationwide employment service. Here we help wounded, injured and sick veterans on their sometimes lengthy and complex journeys back into employment in whatever part of the country they may be. So what has happened to our employment service this year? Well, despite the pandemic and against all the odds, our frontline team have put in a remarkable performance. We have been able to help several hundred of our most vulnerable veterans back to work, even during this pandemic, supporting them into industries where employment is still buoyant, such as healthcare, supermarket work, logistics, and also into longer-term employment, particularly in IT. Working with the severely disabled, the disadvantaged and the vulnerable is both time-intensive and costly. We are not a one-size-fits-all organisation, and we take huge care to offer a truly bespoke and personalised programme which continues long after an initial job offer has been secured. And the money invested in our service provides a long-lasting and measurable result. Our veterans stay in work. They feel fulfilled. Their confidence is restored, and they can once again contribute to our wider society. Now then, you will know, of course, that the pandemic created an immediate clamour for emergency funding and created cash flow problems for some of our funders. And there is no sugarcoating the pill when I tell you that despite the value we bring, one or two of our long-standing partners have been unable to fund us this year. Nevertheless, the vast majority of our long-standing funders, including the 3 military benevolent funds, together with some of our major trust and corporate supporters, have continued to engage and fund us at this difficult time. Why? Because what we do really works, and we have the evidence base to prove it. And not only have they chosen to continue funding us this year, but many have extended their grants to run over a series of years. We have also been well supported by the Royal Marines Charity, ABF, the Soldiers Charity, and Greenwich Hospital in their provision of additional grants for individual training, and you will see more of this in our upcoming video. And all of this, of course, allows us to concentrate more on the veterans that we specialise in supporting, those with complex needs, and it allows us to plan well ahead for their intensive support and care. We really are truly grateful. And then, of course, in further happy news, we have new supporters and new programmes to mention. In addition to our community-based service, this year we are running 2 additional programmes. The first is where we are working in partnership with NHS England, and I am very pleased to report that we are now up and running with 3 NHS pilots in the North West, in Portsmouth and in Plymouth. Here we have embedded our employment staff in a range of different health settings to see which one works best in terms of securing employment and improving health outcomes. We will be monitoring the pilots closely with a view, once the evidence has been gathered, to rolling out the programme on a national basis. And then, within the second of our new programmes, we are working together with STOL, embedding an employment specialist in an area where the concentration of veterans is high so that we can have greatest effect. And we have begun conversations about further expansion and providing similar levels of support with other housing providers. Finally, I should mention that we are working closely with the Department of Work and Pensions and increasing our veteran referrals from them significantly. We will be seeking to secure funding for these veterans through the Flexible Support Fund and from the summer from their new Restart programme. How can we possibly expand at a time of national pandemic? Well, for the second year running, we have posted a strong financial position. We have strengthened our relationships within the military charity sector and beyond, and we have the backing and confidence of a number of existing and new supporters, including the Armed Forces Covenant Fund. It is not easy, and truth be told, it has not been an easy year at all. But we are determined to continue our work to change and transform veteran lives. Why? Because this is what it means.
Since the COVID-19 pandemic began, the Poppy Factory has supported hundreds more wounded, injured and sick veterans in England and Wales on their journey into employment. Here are the stories of just 4 of the people we've helped to make a fresh start in a very challenging year.
Musa joined the army in 2004 and left the service 11 years later, aged 34. It had been a life-changing experience. Although proud of serving in the Queen's Guard, Musa also had post-traumatic stress disorder and depression after some of his experiences in Iraq, Afghanistan, South Africa and the Falklands. In the years that followed, Musa found himself isolated and alone without support and had little money and could stay in his flat for weeks at a time. Getting help happened gradually. Musa began having therapy when someone at the Royal British Legion mentioned the Poppy Factory. He sent an email to register for our service. At that point, Musa thought he would never work again. He really had no confidence. I encouraged Musa to apply for a job at a distribution centre near his home. When he started, another veteran in the team helped him settle in. Having someone who he could relate to and what he was going through helped build Musa's courage. Musa is still getting used to work again. It isn't easy and it takes time. Having routine really helps. Musa's manager says he's had a great start, picked up new skills and is a future team leader.
Bob served with the Royal Military Police in the UK, Germany and Northern Ireland. He'd been unemployed for years when he first linked up with me through the Poppy Factory. At the time, Bob felt that every door he pushed against was locked from the other side. I would regularly check up on Bob and offer support for job interviews and applications, including an opportunity with the ambulance service. Previously, Bob had trained as a combat medic and knew exactly what it felt like to have people's lives in his hands. Bob is now part of the ambulance crew, driving and caring for the patients in the back. Many have been seriously ill with COVID-19, and unfortunately, when Bob's crewmate tested positive, Bob caught the virus too. Thankfully, he's now recovered and back in work. Since the pandemic started, Bob has been advising colleagues about post-traumatic stress disorder, which he has from his own past experiences. To him, the constant danger of the virus has felt like a threat of unseen snipers in a conflict zone. Bob loves being part of the ambulance service. It feels like coming home to the military. Now he's thinking about his future again and wants to take the next steps towards becoming a paramedic. We helped Bob find a door that was open. He's proud to have stepped through it.
Liam always wanted to be a soldier. He was 21 when he joined the Royal Marines. But just 1 year into his time as a recruit, he suffered a serious back injury in training. After a year of rehab, Liam was medically discharged. It was a bitter disappointment. When Liam left the Royal Marines, his family and girlfriend were there to support him. But he needed help finding a new career. Liam's family had always had dogs. With encouragement from a friend, he decided to become a detection dog handler, but he couldn't afford the training. Liam registered with the Poppy Factory to see what help was out there, and then Adam, his advisor, helped Liam apply for the funding he needed. He was successfully awarded grants from the Royal Marines Charity and the Royal Naval Benevolent Trust. Now Liam has completed the training. He knows there are lots of opportunities for dog handlers. He's putting himself out there and looking forward to the future with ongoing employment support. He knows he'll get there.
Donna left school at 17 and joined the Royal Signals to get away. She served for nearly 5 years in Germany and beyond. After a traumatic experience, Donna's mental health suffered. She was medically discharged from the army and lost her way. One day she came home from work and tried to take her own life. Donna's partner knew she needed help and took her to see a GP. The doctor referred her to specialists at Veterans NHS Wales, and they urged her to contact the Poppy Factory for employment support. Donna had no idea what to put on her CV or what to say in an interview, but I helped her sign up for a confidence building course and look for opportunities. A job came up at a community support charity, the Family Foundation, and they loved her personality. When Donna had a video interview, she followed my advice and put reminders behind the computer. She got the job and shared the news with me straight away. We were both over the moon. Donna loves her new job helping fellow veterans and their families. She feels she's making a difference and can relate to the people she supports.
The Poppy Factory will always be there to help veterans like Musa, Donna, Bob and Liam, no matter what challenges they face. To find out about employment support, visit poppyfactory.org/employment.
I think you are all here because you know that we do good work and that it takes time, effort and money to help the most vulnerable veterans in our society. But when, as you have seen in the video, it all comes together, and by working in close partnership with you all, then we can have enormous effect and really transform difficult lives. Thank you, therefore, for being part of this success story and for making such a difference.